Hello everyone. I thought you would like to have another worked out explanation of how to factor particular problems. I'm going to do these pretty fast, but you can always pause it, or I know YouTube also has a spot where you can slow down the speed if needed. Okay, so the first problem is 6x squared minus 7x minus 5. The students should be able to realize that the GCF is just a 1, and when you have a GCF of 1, that doesn't change the problem, so I keep 6x squared minus 7x minus 5, or if you prefer, plus negative 7x in the middle. After you find the GCF, you do A, C, and B, and you draw a line down the middle. A is the first number, 6, times C is the last number, negative 5. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30, and B is the middle number, negative 7. You always count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and if that's not enough, you do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down the side. Negative 30 divided by 1 is negative 30. 1 plus negative 30 is negative 29. We need negative 7. Negative 30 divided by 2 is negative 15. When you add them, you get negative 13. We need negative 7. Negative 30 divided by 3 is negative 10. When you add them, you get negative 7. You now know that you have the right two numbers in this slot over here. Then the students go over and they make a box. Inside the box, in the top left corner, is the first 6x squared. In the bottom box is this negative 5 in the back. In this box is the 3 or the negative 10 along with an x, and in this box is whichever one you didn't do, so the negative 10 in this case with an x. Now the students work their way down and they answer what's the biggest thing that goes into 6 and 3, and the answer is 3. They also bring down an x because each one had an x. Now you say, what's the biggest number that goes into 10 and 5? The answer is 5. Because the top was negative, you bring down a negative with that 5. Now you do the same thing with 6 and 10. The biggest number that goes into 6 and 10 is a 2. They each have an x, so you bring over an x. Now you do the same thing with 3 and 5. The biggest number that goes into 3 and 5 is a 1. And because this 3 over here was positive, this is a plus 1. Your final answer is 3x plus 5, or excuse me, the 3x minus 5 that you got right here, and the 2x plus 1 that you got on the other side. If it had anything but a GCF of 1, you would put it out front, but since it had a GCF of 1 from way up here, you can just put that 1 out front if the students like to sometimes, but they don't have to. The next problem, you'd say, what does 3, 21, and 36 have in common? Well, all of them would divide by 3, so I have a GCF of 3 in this particular problem. Now I divide everything by 3, so this is different than the last problem because the last problem you would just divide it by 1. I now get 1x squared plus 7x plus 12. So I took my GCF of 3 out. So now I'm going to X out my old problem because I have the GCF out front. Now I do A, C, and B. Drop down a straight line. A is the number beside x squared, so 1 times C is the last number, positive 12. 1 times positive 12 is 12, and B is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If none of those work, you do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and continue. 12 divided by 1 is 12. Add them, you get 13. I need a 7. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 2 plus 6 is 8. I need a 7. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. I now have my answers of 3 and 4. Now once the students get that part done, they go and they draw another box. In the top left corner is this 1x squared. In the bottom right corner is this back number of 12. In the two corners, catty corner of each other, is these two magic numbers 3 and 4 with an x. And those can get switched. It doesn't matter if they do 3 on the bottom or 3 on the top. Now the students say, what does a 1 and a 3 have in common? A 1 and a 3 both divide by 1, and they each have an x. What is the biggest thing that goes into 4 and 12? The answer is 4. The 4 on the top was positive, so this 4 that you took out should be positive. What is common between a 1 and a 4 on the top? The only thing that they both divide by is 1. They each have an x. What is common between 3 and 12? What do they both divide by? A 3. This 3 was positive, so this 3 is positive. Your final answer is the 1x plus 4 and the 1x plus 3. But they do have to remember, since the GCF was different than 1, the GCF at the very beginning was 3, the 3 must hop down to join the other two. The next problem is different because we have a y squared now also involved. So you check and see if anything goes into all of the terms, which is a GCF. The only number that goes into 8, 14, and 15 is tempting for the students to pick 2, but the answer is 1. When you divide by 1, nothing changes. So it's actually kind of good news when the GCF is 1. This step that I'm doing at this exact moment is not necessary when the GCF is 1, although sometimes it's nice to do it, that way they get used to it when it's not 1. After you do GCF, you do A, C, and B. Drop down a line, give yourself some room. The A is beside x squared, so it's 8, times C, which is negative 15. 8 times negative 15 is 80 and 40, so negative 120. B is the middle number, so it is positive 14. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if those are not enough, I'll have to continue and do more. I need to get 14 after I divide and add. So negative 120 divided by 1 is negative 120. When you add, you get negative 119. Negative 120 divided by 2 is negative 60. When you add, you get negative 58. I'm going to need to get to 14. Negative 120 divided by 3 is negative 40. When you add, you get negative 37. So I'm getting closer, but I'm not there yet. Negative 120 divided by 4 is negative 30. When you add, you get negative 26. Again, I'm getting closer, but I'm not quite there. Negative 120 divided by 5 is negative 24. 120. When you add, you get negative 19. So again, we're not there, but we are getting closer. So since 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 did not work, now I have to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's start with 6. Negative 120 divided by 6 is negative 20. So I get negative 14, which is very close. I need positive 14. When that happens, just change all of your signs. So this is positive 14, this is positive 20, and this is negative 6. And everything still flows through the rules. Now draw your box. In your top left box, please put 8x squared. In your bottom right box, put negative 15y squared. In the catty corner boxes, you're going to do negative 6 and positive 20. But just like the middle term up here had an x and a y, these both need an x and a y. Unlike the last problem where you only needed an x. So what number goes into 8 and 6? 2 goes into 8 and 6, and they both had an x. What number goes into 20 and 15? 5. And these items both have a y. Because the 20 was positive, this is a positive 5. What number goes into 8 and 20? It is tempting to pick 2, but the answer is 4, because you always pick the biggest thing that goes into both of them. They each have an x. What goes into 6 and 15? Well, in 6 is 6, 3, 2, and 1, so 3 goes into both of them, so a 3. And they both have a y. Because the 6 was negative, this needs to be a negative 3y when I write it. So when I jump down for my final answer, I get 2x plus 5y and 4x minus 3y. There was just a GCF of 1, which you can put in the front, but it's not necessary. The next problem is very similar, but it has a little bit of a difference to it. I need to try to do the box on the top. I cannot do the box to the bottom because it doesn't have anything that's squared. So I would notice that it has a GCF of 1 because nothing else goes into 6, 19, and 10 except for 1. So taking a GCF of 1 out is good because it actually doesn't change the problem. So I just kind of rewrite it. Again, that step's not necessary if it's a 1, but it's necessary if it's anything else, so it's safe to do it all the time. So I'm going to do A, C, and B. Give myself some room. The value of A is 6. The value of C is 10. Which when you multiply, you get 60. The value of B is negative 19. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I need 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I will. 60 divided by 1 is 60. Add them, you get 61. I need 19. 60 divided by 2 is 30. Add them, you get 32. I need 19. 60 divided by 3 is 20. When you add them, you get 23. 60 divided by 4 is 115. When you add them, you get 19. I need a negative 19. I got a positive 19, so just go backwards and change every single sign. So negative 4, negative 15, negative 19 works. Get your box, and in your top left of your box, put 6x squared. In the bottom right of your box, put the 10y squared. and catty corner of each other, put the -4, I should have left more room, on the -15. Just like this problem had an x and a y, here, this -4 needs an x and a y, and so does the 15. Now, what goes into 6 and 4? 2, and they each have an x. What goes into 15 and 10? 5, and they each have a y. Because if 15 was negative, I need to pull down a negative from the top. What goes into 6 and 15? Some students are tempted to say 1, but the answer is actually 3. 3 goes into both of them, and they each have an x. What goes into 4 and 10? 2, and they both have a y. Because this 4 on the left was negative, this needs to be a -2y when I get it in my answer. So my final answer is going to be 2x minus 5y, in parentheses, and 3x minus 2y. But you did notice this problem started off a little bit differently. It had something in a denominator, and it had 3x minus 2y in the denominator. So that would be part of my denominator here. But the students have learned that when something on the top matches something on the bottom, it cancels out. So my final answer is simply 2x minus 5y. I hope you found this video helpful.